Hey, it's me again. This is the last match from Naga about a year ago before the pandemic hit. Um, this is the last match of Absolutes, and I believe um, we were fighting for bronze in the Absolutes. Um, and I'm up against one of my teammates, Sergei. Um, I'll include his Instagram handle in the comments below. You should check him out. Um, as always, like I don't ever want to have to go up against my own teammates, but you know, in local competitions, sometimes that happens, especially if you're doing like an absolute. Um, so all in good learning. Let's get this started. So Sergei gets collar tie and he pulls guard. Um, he keeps good inside position and comes up. So let's watch that again. So after he sits to Sergei sits to guard, you see how he has inside position on his feet the whole time, which means he has all the offensive action. Ideally, I would want to pummel my legs to at least one on the inside in order to start initiating any passing. Um, I do this a lot too, but you can see that Sergei's left hand right here. He has it on the back of my right leg, and his hook is in the front of my leg, which kind of together forms like a push pull, and it's like a nice strong grip on my right leg. I like to do this a lot in Z guard, where the top knee I sort of push into my opponent's chest, and then I grab the tricep on top, and that kind of forms like a push-pull action. It's just like another way to form grips on your opponent. So Sergei doing this sort of disallows me from like pummeling my right leg to his inside. So he does a good job of doing that here. And like you can see, like I'm kind of off balance, and then I snatch up his leg and sit to guard. And I'll stop right here since uh, Dennis, my cameraman, is doing another great job. So I snatch up his leg and I just fall to guard, and I want to make a point here that strategically that's not necessarily a good idea. One, similar to the last match in this series, there's a weight difference, and especially as a smaller guy, you definitely want to try and stay on top as much as possible, since you'll have the offensive advantage, and then you don't have to basically feel the weight of larger opponents. Um, Also, when I sit down like that, that means Sergey comes up and I go down, and that means I just gave up 2 points for a sweep. So, like, depending on how the match goes, if you don't want to just concede points like that, so just like a strategy thing, like even if I had snatched up his leg here, um, so even as I have his leg here, it would have been totally plausible for me to do like a technical stand up. Um, Remain on top and then try to begin passing there. There was really no great reason to pull guard. I think the only reason was because I'm more comfortable in guard at that time. So like my body just naturally wanted to be on bottom. And I mean, it can, if you're confident that you can, win a match or win back the points later, and you're confident you can do that, you can. But to me, as you get much better in jiu-jitsu, you shouldn't concede any points like that. Um, I think I switched to 50-50 here, um, which is a non-optimal sweeping position. So you saw me sort of try and push Sergey down. He based and is still up. And I think 50-50 I wouldn't say is an optimal sweeping position, just because the directionality of force kind of is only like forward and backward. It's a little harder to create like a side to side motion. Whereas like if you have single leg X, you have the knee in the middle between your opponent's legs, and you can kind of direct the force of their leg outwards into the side, rather than in 50-50 here. I sort of push into him, but not really to the side, so he's able to remain on top. Here, so this is off of a failed 50, or I wouldn't call it 50-50 because, sorry, I would call it double outside ashi, just because Sergei's leg is not across my body, so his leg is still on my right hand side, and I did have a triangle locked on the on the right hand side. So apologies. It's more of a double outside ashi leg configuration, and I tried to sweep off of that, which doesn't lead to optimal sweeping mechanics. It looks like I have unlocked here, and my left leg, you can see my toes peeking out here, is in a rather awkward position. I think in this position, it would have been better for me to suck this leg that has its toes peeking out, my left leg, back to single leg X. So I should have put my knee in between Sergei's legs, and my right leg with the green band should have came up to get a single leg X on Sergei's right leg. I think this position could have ended very, very badly for me if Sergei had sprawled out and just smashed his way into me. And I think this is, depending on like what my left knee looks like, that could result in an LCL tear. So could have had a potential knee injury here. Luckily, Sergei didn't smash down on me. And I think, yeah, so you see, like, we could see it a little bit better there. Like right here, my knee is not in a good position to actually serve as a frame. So if Sergei just decided to smash downward straight into my chest, it would essentially put a lot of pressure, because it's kind of like side on to my knee, whereas like a knee bends up and down, and so like, yeah, it would have caused damage to my LCL if he had decided to smash. Not a good leg configuration. I should be a little bit more careful with that, especially now since my right leg is also extended. He could have easily brought his weight down. It could have been a bad day for me. So we continue. I'm able to slip my foot back in and just get guard. Sergei stands. I sort of did like a bad version of reverse De La Hiva on my bad side. I was not comfortable with that, so I switched to De La Hiva still on my bad side. Sergei tries to do a knee cut, and I still have my guard. Sergei's doing a good job just controlling both my feet. This doesn't make me feel good. You never want to have both your feet controlled. So like, usually if that's the case, you can see that I have my right arm controlling his leg, so that inhibits his movement. But like, a bad thing would be if Sergei had both of my feet controlled and he had the mobility of both his feet, because then he could do Toriandos, he could stack me, he could throw me in one direction and move to pass my guard. So at least I'm still able to control his foot. So even though he has both feet controlled, he doesn't have the mobility to use that fully to his advantage. Ideally, you should be swimming your feet the whole time to make sure he doesn't have that kind of control on you. And then during that knee cut, right here, there is an opportunity for me perhaps to come up. So right here, I could have slipped my underhook in and tried to come up. So that could have been an option. But I think this was about a year ago. I was like very guard focused, like really only comfortable in guard. So I don't think that seemed like a viable option to me. Um, Especially like if you think strategically, like against a larger opponent, and you're already down 2 points, coming up is probably a very very good idea to sort of turn the tide, maybe get a sweep or a reversal. Um, but I just ended up twisting back in guard. And I like to do this, I have my feet sort of like at the sides of my opponent, and then instead of just having your knees up, I kind of like point my knees both to one direction. So in this case, my knees are pointed to the left of me. So my knee points this way. My right foot kind of like is across his hip, like across Sergei's hip, like a Z guard. I believe Robert Deagle has called this Keymaster guard. So it's like your feet are on the hips. It's kind of like a loose closed guard with knees facing, one side of the body. So your top leg serves as a frame, and then your bottom leg kind of remains on the hip. And I think like in Keymaster guard, it opens up. It's definitely more distanced than Z guard, but it is a guard that I naturally ended up playing, but I don't have too much context right now, so I don't want to talk too much about it. I know that I've just used Keymaster guard and found good success, like transitioning to other guards like butterfly, or just inserting my hooks into my partner's stance. So maybe there will be some future videos on that. Here I sort of went straight for backside 50-50, but and like maybe tried turning it into like a calf slicer sort of position, but um, what I needed to do right here was right here, my top leg. I should have shot it through completely to Sergei's right hip. Instead, I took it out. I guess I must have had a reason to take it out. Like maybe I didn't think I could get it through. But in a sense, I had already lost Sergei's knee line here. There is possible opportunity for a back take as well. Like I could have used my left hook to push Sergei forward, insert my right hook and grab his hips. That could have been a possibility for back exposure. I pretty much had already lost his knee line because I didn't shoot my left leg through, so any kind of backside 50-50 inside heel hook attempt is probably lost here. Sergei's knee is definitely not in a great position here, but I think his knee line was out already and my grip was slipping. And you can see I throw my right leg across Sergei's torso, and I think what I was thinking here is I could probably maybe turn this into a saddle position, or at least the beginnings of a saddle. But I think when I threw my right leg in, it wasn't exactly in the right place. Like my right foot should have went between Sergei's legs to initiate the cross ashi saddle position. Instead, it kind of like landed near his far right hip, and I think that gave Sergei the opportunity to attack toe holds. So you'll see in this next 10 seconds, he kind of goes for a type of attack like that. I push away, and again we land inside guard. So let's see what happened there. So I have a De La Hiva, and I was lazily putting it, lazily just leaving my De La Hiva hook, the foot, my right foot, sort of close enough to Sergei's hip pocket where he could have pulled my right foot through and inside heel hooked it. Generally, if you want to do this De La Hiva hook, you can extend your leg to make your opponent turn away. But I was just sort of hanging out there, and that's not a good thing that you want to do. Sergei tried uh, to do a cheeky little submission there, um, and I recover guard. There could have been or I guess not. I was going to say there is a Berimbolo counter um, to the De La Hiva saddle attempt there. But I think Sergei let go of my leg, and I bounced back into guard on the bottom. We both kind of laugh. So let's see what happened there. So this looks like Sergei trying to stack me a little. So here, Sergei gets control of both my legs, and that's golden passing time for him. He's got my right leg pinned on the ground, the one with the green band here. And you can see him trying to misalign my spine. So like my upper body is pushing into him, and his hand on my right leg with the green band is making my bottom turn away, and so that's affecting my frame here on my left leg. You'll see in a moment that I believe I tried to hip escape, and that's sort of the beginning of the end in terms of me trying to retain my guard. So ideally, what you want to do is you want to keep your left elbow glued to your left knee right here, and that will be definitely harder, especially with your legs sort of turned in the opposite direction. But the minute I decide to hip escape, that basically like drops the knee down to the mat and then opens up the space for Sergei to pass. So right there, he gets past my left knee, and I believe I still have a left elbow in, but now it's only a matter of time. I do a hip escape, and my entire inside is exposed, and Sergei gets the pass. Here I'm trying to insert my frames inside to sort of begin recovering. At this point, I should have gotten onto my left-hand side. That might have helped. And Sergei passes to mount. So I think one of the possible options for recovery here, one is I need to get on my left side, and keeping my left knee right here as close as I can to his hip pocket is a good thing. But unless it's paired with like being on your side and being able to bridge over my left shoulder, laying flat here and just like lazily putting my left leg on my right just isn't enough. There is also a possible option, depending on where Sergei's left foot was, that I could have thrown my right foot over to scoop it up, and that would put me into half guard. It seems like Sergei's knee was in my hip pocket really nicely, since I see both my knees up here, and that's how he slipped past into mount. Most of here is me. Sergei's got a crossface on me, but he doesn't have like inside control of my upper body. So right now I'm sort of just keeping my elbows tight, trying to get my legs back. So trying to use my right leg or my legs to get inside of Sergei's legs, and hopefully try to hook one of his legs, pull it out, and recover into quarter, at least quarter, and then I can move into half guard. So here, that was maybe the closest opportunity that I got. So I pin Sergei's right leg, and I think there are many ways to do this, but one way is to, with my with a leg that has the green band on it, you can hook underneath Sergei's right leg, which is on the ground here, and my left leg will be on the top. So again, it's like a hook on the bottom and a leg on top, which kind of is a grip as well. And then you can use that to push Sergei's leg out, and then perhaps sneak my leg back in for a quarter guard, and eventually into a half guard. Sergei does a good job of grapevining, putting his feet high in a very high position. And I believe he's trying to isolate my arm for a Kimura. Moves to a Kimura trap and immediately puts the pressure on in back control. So I think that was a pretty good back transition. So here, Sergei starts finding that space in the elbow, shifts to the top, turns it into back control, immediately goes for the one-handed choke. And I grab at Sergei's thumbs because that represents the longest lever. I grab at Sergei's thumb to prevent the choke. And this whole time I have my shoulder scrunched up, trying to prevent this choke. But Sergei has a body triangle on me. He's got my left arm controlled on the underhook side. And so really he has one arm that he's trying to choke me with, and I have one arm to try and defend that choke. In order to escape, I have to first figure out how to misalign my spine with his chest. Otherwise, he's going to be, always centered on my back. So here, I could have done a better job of trying to turn this body lock into hooks. I believe I tried going to the other side and turning while I'm doing that in order to misalign my spine. So here, so you can see that like I go to the other side, but I don't just face to the right-hand side. I start going to the right-hand side, but then I turn into Sergei to try and misalign my spine. So like I start going to the right-hand side, and instead of just facing the right-hand side, you can see the direction of my hips. I try to turn in, but Sergei does a pretty good job following me. Eventually, I get my baseball grip back, and then it's a fight to keep him from choking me. So I believe Sergei does a what's called a Silverado break, where he gets a gable grip with his own hands in a way that creates a gable grip over my wrist, and then he torques his grip in a way that injures or hurts my wrist, and then I have to let go. And then that sets it up nicely for just like a gable, a two-handed choke. I believe, from what I remember, it was over my chin at first, but then eventually it got under my. So he breaks my grip. It's a little bit hard to see. We'll see it again right here. Yep. So he's got a gable grip, and he's on my chin. And I believe I'm trying to fight. It's essentially now his two hands against my two hands. And because his hands are gabled, it's my two hands on his like forearm and wrist versus his two hands. And those are not the longest lever points. Like I have no access to his thumbs. And so like, even though I have both my hands defending, Sergei has more leverage than I do. And then once he gets under my chin, I believe he turns it into a rear naked. And by that time, it's too late for me. And I tap. Yeah, so right here, like late escape would probably be to try and push Sergei's left hand up, or like you could even try digging for it, but it looks like in this scene that his hand is hidden very well under his chin, and the squeeze is already getting pretty tight. I think like at this point, even like escaping my hips wouldn't do much either, and he gets the body triangle back to finish the tap. Maybe 2 to 3 seconds of disappointment from myself, but overall, I thought it was a great match, a great learning experience for me. I think Sergei did a very good job, and always happy to see my teammates do well. And I hope this helped somebody out there. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.